Earth's Ancient History, Part 4, Arcturian Message to Lemurians. December 11, 2014. Excerpt from Pleiadian Perspectives on Ascension, Book 4. Life for most of the Lemurian era and a lesser portion of the Atlantean era was exactly like logging into a 3D video game. The higher dimensional spirits entered into a form that was clearly a game on the holographic matrix of fourth-dimensional Earth. At first, they entered the plants and animals. Humans were so unevolved at that time that there was little differentiation between a human and any other form of animal. Humans were male and female just like the other third-dimensional animals. Visitors from other star systems who were in need of biped workers had genetically engineered these humanoid animals millennia before. However, the early Atlanteans, as well as the Lemurians, were androgynous and visited earthly forms to temporarily experience the concept of gender. Due to the actions of the later-day Atlanteans, the spirit's state of consciousness lowered, and they suffered an increasing sense of separation from the higher dimensional expressions of their multidimensional self. Eventually, their consciousness lowered so drastically that the oscillation of the sine waves of their consciousness slowed to such a low frequency that they could no longer travel interdimensionally. Then they became trapped in the forms that they were once just visiting. Travel via consciousness is based on the oscillation of the sine waves of the traveler's consciousness. The higher the consciousness and the faster the spin and oscillation, the more easily the spirit, true non-physical form, can travel interdimensionally via consciousness. Because the frequency of consciousness is influenced by the rate of spin of molecules within the form that spirit is visiting, it became increasingly difficult for the visiting spirits to remember their true consciousness while they were inhabiting a denser form. For many millennia, spirits visited the fourth-dimensional reality in which the masculine and feminine polarities were separated into two different genders. These visits became longer and longer as the spirits became addicted to the experience of lower-dimensional form. These longer visits into the increasing sensation of time on Earth further lowered the spirit's consciousness. When the frequency of their consciousness dropped to the frequency of the form they were visiting, they were no longer a spirit visiting form, but spirits trapped in form. The trapped spirits then knew the experience of death, which was never experienced when they were spirit because they lived infinitely while within the unity of the One. Worse yet, the spirits trapped in Atlantean form did not take responsibility for the creation of their own problem. Instead, they blamed the One for punishing them and making them stay within their decaying, dying earthen vessels. Therefore, they separated themselves from the One as well as from their own spirit within their physical forms. Eventually, they even polarized the One into gendered deities of God or Goddess. This final separation from the One cemented their fate into the long decline into beings of form rather than beings of spirit. Spirit was always within them, but they had evicted it from their minds. Hence, they could no longer experience their own spirit through their physical perceptions. For this reason, their inner spirit became a distant hierarchical ruler who was either a male god or a female goddess. Once spirit became polarized in their consciousness, the battle between God and Goddess was focused on the battle between female Lemuria and male Atlantis. Lemuria and Atlantis had peacefully coexisted for millions of years, but the Atlanteans were conflicted and needed to vent that anger onto others. Therefore, that which was meant to be the blissful marriage of masculine and feminine that would return Earth into her spirit form and usher in personal and planetary ascension, became a long and violent divorce. We could see that the audience needed a break to absorb our message, so we called in the musicians to play and invited the group to converse with each other over some food and sparkling drinks. In this manner they could more easily integrate our information into their consciousness. After our audience had a chance to relax, converse, and have some delicious food, we came forward again to complete our message. Our dear friends and family, we are pleased to see how you have all blended into one group of conscious volunteers to assist Gaia. We wish to finish our message and then to invite a very important being to speak. Once the group had settled down and were prepared to listen to our message, we began our message. In summary, we reiterate that Lemuria was to be the matrix for the feminine, receptive, emotive, and creative aspect of the future humanity. On the other hand, Atlantis was meant to be the masculine, logical, and scientific aspect of future humanity. Both of these realities fell from resonating to the fifth dimension to a frequency that we would now call the fourth dimension. It was not within the divine plan to create a reality at the third dimension, for the separation from spirit would make future evolution too difficult. Unfortunately, after the fall of these two great worlds, especially the fall of Atlantis, Earth was so shaken on her axis that Earth was in danger of total destruction. Therefore, Gaia called out to Spirit to send light beings to assist her, as she was on the edge of falling off her axis. Millions of loving light beings took forms made of the same elements as Gaia. They hoped that if they could transmute the lower dimensional forms into a higher frequency, they would be able to assist Gaia to do the same. However, Earth was too wounded to resonate any higher than the third dimension. Even though Gaia's consciousness resonated to the fourth dimension, her planetary body needed eons of healing before it could also resonate to the fourth dimension. It was then that the fourth dimension became the reality that vibrated in the aura of Gaia, and she became separate from her planetary body that resonated to the third dimension. The creators of the Earth experiment were very concerned about the absence of spirit's integration into third-dimensional matter. They knew that matter separated from spirit would create a very harsh world that would become increasingly polarized. It is the presence and frequency of spirit that allows all life forms on, in, and above Earth to find and live within the unity of planetary consciousness. In a reality devoid of unity and planetary consciousness, the grounded humans experience extremes of separation from each other and from their planet. In an attempt to make sense of their difficult lives, the ones who fell into darkness grew to believe that whatever they did was good for others. With such separation from spirit, the light ones tainted their unconditional love of the one with the conditional love of their polarized reality, in which others had to follow their commands to deserve love. This manner of separation of unconditional love and conditional love began in Atlantis while Lemuria was still in existence. The Atlanteans' increasing separation from spirit created a conditional love, in which only those who followed their choices deserved to be loved. This conditional love set them on a mental masculine path to gain power over others. Worse yet, the others included the planet itself. On the other hand, Lemuria's unconditional love became so polarized to the emotional feminine that they began to perceive what they wanted to see rather than which was actually occurring. Hence, they did not see that the Atlantean power systems were being used as weapons. In the end, both civilizations perished, but much was learned. From this experiment of polarized reality on Earth, it was learned the mental, masculine quality and the emotional, feminine qualities had to blend in order to gain sufficient wisdom, power, and love. Hence, the threefold flame of wisdom, power, and love was placed in the high hearts of all incarnating ones. Unfortunately, in most cases, this correction was useless. After the fall of Atlantis, the frequency of Gaia's body was so low that most humans were unable to connect with their high heart. Hence, much of their lives were spent in the business of survival. The priests and priestesses of the One carried their light with them into the new locations to which they fled. Unfortunately, many of those who thrived on separation took the darkness of power over others into the same locations. Thus, the battle between light and dark was carried into the surviving realities. This battle cannot be won, but it can be ended. Like any fire, it must have fuel to burn. As humanity begins to release their habit of third-dimensional time, they will begin to live in the now. Within that now, they will remember that they are not the body that has a spirit high above them. Gradually or quickly they will remember that they are the spirit that has chosen to visit the body. It is then that they can learn the law of cause and effect so that they can become the creators of their lives. The cause of creation is sent out into reality as a thought, it instantly merges with an emotion, to create a thought form. By placing their attention on that thought form, they consciously enter that reality. When they are complete with that experience, they release the thoughts and emotions that bonded them to that reality and return back to the now of the fifth dimension and beyond. As more and more humans remember that they are the creators of their life, they can experience any dimension they choose by calibrating their consciousness to frequency of that dimension. When this occurs, they will likely log out of the third, fourth dimensional portions of Earth's planetary matrix. Eventually, this lowest frequency of Gaia's matrix will become obsolete. Gradually, this frequency of Gaia's multidimensional matrix will dissolve because there are not enough thoughts and emotions to keep it in form. Therefore, there will no longer be a third, fourth dimensional matrix onto which life forms can attach. Thus, the third, fourth dimensional timelines, along with those inhabitants, will expand into a higher frequency or move into the matrix of another third, fourth dimensional planet. In this manner, those who are not yet complete with the experience of resonating to third, fourth dimensional realities will simply switch into another reality as easily as one can switch into a different dream. With the recalibration of Gaia's planetary resonance, the portals into the fifth dimensional matrix of New Earth will gradually open. There is no need for disaster or confusion. As the portals into multidimensional Earth steadily open, those who choose to remain on the third, fourth dimensional planet will unconsciously be rerouted to other physical planets that are experimenting with the concept of polarity and separation. There is no judgment of success or failure in these choices. Much can be learned from living in the separation, limitation, and the extremes of polarity. Each being will make their decisions based on their own divine path. In fact, there are some higher dimensional beings that have chosen to remain in the lower dimensions to assist those who still believe they are only physical. We have come here within the now to celebrate that the ascension of Gaia is about to begin. As you Lemurians know, the shift of frequency of an entire planet is not a quick fix. Instead, planetary ascension is a process that will continue for as long as the planetary inhabitants are still attached to time. It is for this reason that many members of our galactic family have taken a human form, and you, dear Lemurians, will slowly go topside to assist humanity with their decisions. Please be aware that your civilization was reticent to change. Hence, your ancestors did not see the brewing storm on Atlantis. Therefore, you are a perfect teacher for the humans who do not want to even imagine that their world could completely change. Many members of our Galactic Federation have begun our landings on Earth by bilocating into the bodies of our expressions of self, wearing an Earth vessel. You, the Lemurians, will journey topside to teach, comfort, and guide the humans through your ability to transmute your form to look like you are just human. We are the Arcturians, sending our blessings to you all. Channeled by Suzanne Lee. SuzanneLeePhD.blogspot.com